Welcome back, friends. It's been a little while since the last episode. I took a little time off just to be able to build some stuff off screen and to decompress. You can't play Space Engineers every day. I mean, you could, but it'd get old after a little while. Uh, yeah, you can see it kind of looks like the fat lady's vaping right now, but she's actually not. I told her to lay off the vape pens, so what that really is, it's a ship that I captured earlier. This was actually one of the non-hostile ships. I went out to grab it because I've finished the grinder pit, and this thing should work pretty well. I've got the ring of grinders set up. I've got spotlights to be able to see the ship as it's being digested. Have a simple control panel down here, and everything is plumbed up to go from the grinders into this large cargo container. I also have a large nuclear reactor, which is probably overkill for this. I probably only need like a small reactor, but I thought, what the hell, I've got the components, I might as well do it. Another thing that I put in place too to make this thing more effective was I added several gravity generators around the bottom of it so that any ship that I put in here will be pulled down into the ring instead of just floating off as parts start getting torn apart or disassembled or broken away. Because these these grinder grids don't exactly like grind properly. Like sometimes you'll have like this ramp part will fall off or glitch out and kind of get thrown a little bit. And I'm hoping with four of those gravity generators, I shouldn't have to worry about that. So we'll go ahead and give this thing a test. I actually want to move the fat lady a little bit, who actually has an avatar now. Say hello to the fat lady's AI avatar. She doesn't really like it, so we'll deal with that. I gotta, like I said, keep her from vaping too, so I need to get her away from these flames. But you can see there's also several enemy like signals on the other side of the asteroid. Those are several other ships that I actually captured off screen, just so that I could go ahead and mulch them down in this little base here and get started. I think for today's episode, what we're going to do is we're going to mulch down all of these ships, if as long as nothing happens when you don't get it attacked, and then set up the laser system that I was talking about the other day. Yeah, the MA lasers weapons. Um, I might actually take this mod out after a couple episodes because it does not work with the AI ships that randomly generate the selection of weapons. And the reason for that is it sees these as the weapons themselves. The only problem is these weapons don't work unless you put the laser power sources onto your ship and then plumb them up with beam conduits. It's it's a really interesting mod in that you actually have to wire up your weapons. You don't just put a conveyor system on them and throw a bunch of ammo in them and they're good to go. They actually require a decent amount of power. And you have the tier 2 power sources, the tier 1 power sources, but you can chain these together to make the weapons far more powerful. You can take multiple tier 2 laser power sources, put them into a beam splitter and combine them, or no, beam combiner, and combine them together and make the output beam to where it can cut through like 5 blocks of heavy armor no problem. You can also do fixed lasers too, which are like basically what it is, what it sounds like, forward firing fixed lasers, which actually I wonder if I could actually make a turret version with the fixed lasers. That would be interesting. Although, like I said, I may get rid of it because it's made capturing some of these enemy ships a little too easy, and I don't really like that. Like, I'll actually go over and show you. You can see I captured one of these heavy corvettes, the Dauntless, Stalker drone, and another one of these Eidolons, Eldolon, whatever, however you say that. The reason I'm thinking about taking the laser weapons mod out though is because normally this Stalker drone would have been extremely dangerous. I mean, you guys have actually seen me take one of these down before, but it's spawned in several of the laser weapon systems weapons onto regular hard points without plumbing them up to a power source. Like this is one of the PDX lasers, the interceptor lasers, and then I think there was one on the other side. Yeah, one over here. So this guy's down two turrets basically since they're not plumbed up with energy. And it's the same with this. What the hell is this? The Dauntless. You can see it's got one here, and one here. So this thing was also really easy to capture because none of these could fire at me. If they could, I would have never captured this thing ever because these things take out player characters almost instantaneously, and you can't really fly around them because as long as you're in their limited firing arc, they can zoom and target you like almost immediately. You can see how fast the turrets actually rotate around. That's really quick to be able to lock onto a player. So yeah, I may take that out after at least demonstrating it, but for right now I'm leaving it in just because I like the mod and I want to see if it still works in game. Alright, so we got our first subject in the grind bay. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the spotlights and then start the grinders. You can see already the grinder's just eating it up like almost instantaneously. Unfortunately, it looks like the gravity generators are not doing what I wanted them to do. They should be floating down, but they're not. So, yeah, that didn't work as planned. I may actually have to feed them in with my ship. I may actually take the fat lady and have to start taking it and pushing them down into the grinder rings. So, yeah, I mean, it didn't work 100%, but still, I mean, I chewed up that ship nearly instantly with the grind ring. So, you win some, you lose some. All right, so now I've got the Eidolon on here. You can see my build and repair is actually doing its job too, but we're going to help it out by turning back on our grinding facility. And let's go ahead and drive this thing into it. Alright, that's the first ship done. It's time to drag over the second one. I did notice with that Eidolon ship though, uh, it it didn't work exactly. I had to kind of finagle it and get it more towards this side of the grinders. I think there might be a bit of a dead space in the middle of here, or it just depends on maybe how I get the ship in there. I do have 3 more test subjects, so I should be able to figure this out after a little while. I'm collecting quite a few parts, and as soon as I'm done breaking down the other 3 ships, I'll be able to start arming the actual station itself with the laser weapons. I want to put the laser weapons on the station since it has a large reactor, and just to use them because I have more space and more room to put the laser generators on here than I do to put on the fat lady. She's gonna have to rely more on projectile weapons for right now. All right, so I flew the corrupt striker drone right in here and accidentally dinged up the ground. I forgot it has shit sticking out of the bottom of it. But I'm going to go ahead and since this is already kind of sitting in here, I'm just going to turn on the grinders and see how well they do. Alright, so they're active now. It looks like... Yeah, it looks like it is getting the bottom. Is it getting the middle, though? No. I may, in order to fix that, I may have to put a couple of grinders just on the bottom in the middle in order to get this thing to actually grind up all the bits as they fall in there. Yeah, so it looks like I had to get the fat lady to actually come in here and drag this thing a little over to the side. I definitely need to make a couple of modifications to the grinder pit in order to get it to work and function how I intended it to, because right now it's not doing what I want. And it looks like it's just that middle area. If I can fix that middle area and put a couple of grinders in there, I should be golden, because that seems to be the only thing that's keeping me from just setting a ship in here and have it just disappear. Okay, so I've added a small 3 by 3 grid on the inside of this, so let's see how much better this does. It kind of was a pain in the ass to fit this in here because these grinders are actually an odd by odd number. They are 3 wide by 5 long, so it was kind of triggering me trying to fit these things in here because it's not exactly how I wanted to do it, but I still got it to work. So yeah, hopefully this will fix the problem with the dead space inside of the grinder area. So let's drag our another sacrificial ship over here and see what happens. All right, so I've got the Dauntless basically parked right on top of those new grinders, and I'm hoping this will get rid of the dead space. Let's go ahead and hit the button and see what happens. Oh yeah, that's working much better. That's far more what I wanted to see. I don't like the fact that everything's drifting up though. I need to figure out a way to fix this. I may actually yeah, I may have to make this an enclosed like hangar area that I drive ships in from either that way or from over there coming in that way because I'm basically losing all these blocks. This is not good at all, and that's heavy armor too. So I'm losing how many components? Well, that's not too bad. Like only 2 steel plates there, a couple steel plates there. Looks like it's running enough to get most of the major components. As long as I have these deep enough into the grind pit, it's no big deal. This is a forward section. There's probably missiles in that, so I'll go ahead and clean this up, and then drag the last ship over and go ahead and finish that. There's a bit of a problem. It looks like, unfortunately, this Eidolon battleship, or yeah, what is it? No, Galvus heavy corvette. It's such an odd shape that it's not going to fit properly into the grind bay. So yeah, I didn't really plan for that. Uh, whoever the creator of this Galvus heavy corvette is actually a really decent shipbuilder. I like the design. It's actually very similar to the Fat Lady in shape, at least. Fat Lady's got a little less detail on her, but she's all about her curves. This one is more sleek and fighter looking almost. It's also probably heavily armed compared to the Fat Lady, but I can probably fix this by going ahead and building some laser weapon systems on the base. So I'm gonna go ahead and start that and get that process going and see if we can't take this down to pieces with it. Use the laser beams weapons is like a kind of a shipyard cutting laser. Well, it looks like I'm going to have to take the laser weapons mod out. It looks like no matter what I can do, I'm actually in creative mode right now. I've been trying my damnedest to figure out why the power sources are not pumping power into the gimbaled lasers. And unfortunately, no matter what I've done, I've copied and pasted and cut everything I possibly could to try and get this thing to work, and it's just not working. I think the mod is just too out of date. There is a updated version of this mod that's supposed to work with the weapons core pack, but from what I've seen of the weapons core pack, there's also issues with that as well. So I think I'll have to see if weapons core has been updated and whether or not that new version of the laser weapon system mod uh, actually works with it or not. This is kind of disappointing to me because this was one of my favorite weapons mods that we had out there. Because even though you could make these things uber powerful by taking and stringing a bunch of these, well, since I'm in creative, I can show you. You could actually take and string a bunch of these tier 2 power sources along with beam combiners, like this. You just take a bunch, and as long as you had the output source, which is the yellow bit right there, pointed in the right direction, you could get it to where you stack a row of them, and then take your combiners, and you got to make sure that these are lined up properly. You see how the rings are kind of going into this little bubble here? That's where it forces all of the lasers into. So Normally, it would come out of the power source and through these rings into this bulb here, and then put an even stronger beam into the next one, and then an even stronger beam into the next one, and you would plumb that up into your beam's conduits and go straight to your beam weapon, and these things would just rip through armor like crazy. The uh, the only way that they were balanced though was these gimbals cannot turn worth a damn. I'll get in the control seat and show you how far the gimbal actually turns. If I go to control, you can see here, this is the max range of my range of motion. I can turn around this way, and then that's it. It's not even a full 90 degrees. It's like 45 degrees from like straight this way down 45 that way. So that's about it. You really don't have a large coverage with these weapons, which is what made them fantastic because you couldn't put a bunch of them on here and have them all cover like every little inch of your ship. So I think I'll end it there and basically work a little bit more on the base. I'm gonna have to remove this weapons mod. I need to take it out anyways because some of these other ships that are spawning in that spawn in with these weapons really can't do anything with them. So it's not really fair for me to have that in anyways. But with that said, I hope you guys like the grinding bay. It's still got a few little more kinks and everything to work out, but we'll get it there. And I'll go ahead and upgrade the base a little bit more and maybe find a place to park the fat lady because she's getting a lot of work and I think we need a dedicated tug now because the fat lady needs some rest. She needs to recharge her batteries, go get something to eat, put on fresh mascara. That blue is kind of it doesn't really jive with her colors, so we'll find some good mascara for her to put on. But thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode.